That's my first talk on WRUG and my first talk actually on English language, and sorry, I'm a bit nervous. Today I want to tell you about AWS Lambda with Ruby framework jets. Maybe anyone hears something using AWS Lambda in your pet projects, in your... Okay, cool. Some of you, and moreover, if I, talk some crap, just, interrupt me and say, that's wrong. And maybe someone of you using the Jets framework as well, like in your AWS Lambda projects? Nope. Anybody hear about it, something? Okay, cool. Let's get started. And AWS with Ruby Jets framework. Something little about me. My name is Ivan. I'm working at Spark Solutions. And this is my GitHub when I post my own crap, probably. And the next one, it's about AWS Lambda. Actually, what is it all about? Like maybe someone of you actually heard the word like a serverless. It's like when you try to deploy your code to make something, you think about, okay, what should I use? Should I use Heroku? Because it's really, really simple. You just push your code and you do all your stuff. Or should you use like a Docker, Kubernetes or something? Or maybe just plain Capistrano by your VDS and just push your code. And the AWS Lambda, it's like a new way of thinking, but not actually the new way, because Ruby was applicable to AWS Lambda like a year ago. But it's just a kind of new paradigm. And what's this about? You can create your own lambdas, and you should evaluate it like a function in your code that will be invoked by some triggering the event. And what we think about events, what is it? It might be an API call, for example. This might be an event, like a simple REST service, and it will be triggered your Lambda function if you're using Amazon. And you do some job, do some code, and get the response. It might be a CloudWatch. For example, you can evaluate it like cron job. For example, for a periodic time, this event will be appears, and maybe even some data you can pass through, and your code is supposed to work. And many other services can trigger it your Lambda function on Amazon. It might be S3 bucket, it might be some inserting in DynamoDB, it might be if you're using SNS service or SQS service of Amazon, and many others. But it's just plain, scheme about like something happened and your code invoking somewhere on Amazon. Magic happens. And what's about the limitations of this approach? It's like you should use Ruby 2.5. As far as I remember, there's only support right now on Amazon. And max execution time for your functions should be not more than 15 minutes. And each of your function should not be more, when you pack it in the zip file, more than 15 megabytes, but with one more thing, that you can use layers. Like layers, it's some kind of a disk space that you can put your dependencies there and share it across a lot other your Lambdas functions. And when you using your Lambda function, it of course picks some memory. It's the less memory that you can use is 100 to 128 megabytes and up to 3,000 megabytes, 3 gigabytes, with a step of 64 megabytes. And 5 layers max, and there is a lot of limitations in terms of concurrency, in terms of how much, for example, your free tier gives you ability to execute, and you can find it there. Okay. And for example, you decided, okay, I will be use AWS Lambda. And what actually you should jump into it. You can use, for example, plain AWS CLI just to create your lambdas. It will be looks like so. Like you define some function, like write it to the file, then you pack this file into the zip, create the IAM role, then after that you pick up some credentials, and then you can create your Lambda function with a couple of parameters like runtime, the zip file that contains actually your code. It's just a plain function that will be called, handler, and so on, in some particular format. And actually there is a lot of work you have to do to run your actually Lambda. And there is a couple of frameworks that helps you to handle this, like to make this process a bit simpler. And let's take a look at them. One of them that I wanted to tell you is about Jets, but just quick observation about any other ones. It's like a serverless, it's a JavaScript tool. Hope everybody loves JavaScript. Okay. Yes. And you just npm global install serverless, you create, then you call it to create the template for AWS Ruby, pass to the service, and then it creates some kind of a structure for a serverless. You write your code, then deploy it. Looks pretty simple. But to be honest, never use it. Just copy and paste it and see that it's probably more or less looks like so in terms of serverless. And also there is a library from Amazon itself called SAM that also gives you some sort of simplicity. You just should to create the bucket, make the initial command, call your function, edit some code, and then deploy it. And the framework that I wanted to tell you is about Jets, and this is how it looks like. Like you install Gem, you make a Jets new demo, and then just deploy. Looks pretty simple. My point of my live talk is about just to lively demonstrate how it looks like. I think there's, in terms of the slide, that is it. Oh, no, not that is it. About like Jets framework. There is a Jets framework working in 3 modes. The default mode is HTML. It's when you create a really big file structure with a web packer, with the template engine, and so on. That's the default mode. And it's API mode and jobs mode. API, it's just everything the same, but without web packer, without templates and all the stuff. Just your REST service. And the most tiny one, it's like a cron job that can be called periodically. Okay, I just show you the like a file structure, how it looks like in the mode HTML. It's more or less looks like the same as Rails actually. Yeah, we have controllers, jobs, models, views. In terms of API, it's a bit tiny. You just have controller, jobs, and models without any JavaScript related stuff and template related stuff. And the last one is just a job. Only a couple of files. And I think that's it. That's it from presentation, and I just wanted to show you how it looks live, how to use this tool. Maybe you will enjoy this. Hope so. Let's try it.
You want me to hold the microphone?
Yeah, that would be great. Okay. Give me a second. Okay. This is how that's how projects looks like. We have a couple controllers. For example, we have this home controller. And what we can do? First, for example, I want to run my project locally. That's plain HTML for AWS Lambda. What should I do? Just
Larger font.
larger font. Okay. Give me a second. Okay. Better?
Yeah, this is okay.
Okay. Lose my voice. We need to use Jet servers. There is also Webpack installed. When you use a Jet's new, for example, demo, it's install all the stuff. Okay, and it's hello WRUG. It's for like from my local server, as you can see. And for example, I want to deploy it. And what should I do next? The thing is that you need, of course, the active Amazon account. And if you're working, for example, Kubernetes or just plain Capistrano, you need actually a lot of stuff to do to make it work. But with Jets, you just type Jets deploy, push enter, and hope it's start working, because sometimes it's not, you know how it was. And what's magic will happen? It actually create the S3 bucket for you, create all IMI roles, pack your code into zip file, then push it to the Amazon, create the endpoints, and gives you your ability. It should, you know, start working in a minute, and it will work. I hope so. That's all you need to create, for example, your home project, pet project, any API stuff that you want to use. For example, you just want to try something and you don't want to create, give through all the process of creating server, deploying, supporting, and you just can use AWS Lambda with Jets, type Jets deploy, and it makes everything for you. And it's relatively cheap, but I talk a bit about how cheap or how costly it is a little bit later. Okay, we have a endpoint that was created for us. Let's take a look. Okay, that's hello. As you can see, the asset's not pick up, but it's because it's a dev mode. Sorry about this. And to make this, you know, works, and it's some sort of magic, how easy it is. Let me show you. For example, how easy to make changes, like a hello root 2019, and for example, let's add another root, like a get. Okay, I have created another record to the root. It's more or less similar to the Rails. And I also create the new method into my controller. And what will happen? Actually, after I put just deploy, it will create for me another endpoint. It picks up all the methods that you use in your controllers and create endpoints for you. And what I expect, that's when the deploy process is finished. Okay. Invalid routes.
You have to change index to show.
Oh, sorry. What's the code without bugs, you know? Okay, it seems to start working. And the expected results, that's after this, will accessible like an endpoint for you, and you can use it. Hope it not takes too much time to demonstrate. Yeah, it takes time. Okay, while it's deploying, let's talk about some limitations. Like this code will execute somewhere on Amazon, and what's the benefits Jets actually give you? Like if your code not executed for about 30 minutes, it will be like in some way shut down on AWS, and you face with a problem like a cold start. And under the hood, it actually creates also a warm-up job that's ping your lambdas from time to time to keep it, to keep it up on Amazon servers, and that you're not faced with a cold start problem. Okay, it's finally finished. And what I expect when I pick up the home show endpoint, it's return me some JSON. Hope it will works. Okay, WRUG, hello. And it seems to be work. And what can I say? That's it from my side. Hope you enjoy it. Sorry that maybe it was not the really polishing talk, but give me some sort of a discount. I think that's Amazon Lambda is very interesting technology that you might be try in your home project or even on your work at all, because it's really easy to jump into it. And that's it. Thank you. If you have any questions, I try to answer, but I'm just using it for my kind of a pet project, home project. Maybe I don't just have no information for you, but yeah, feel free.
Okay, cool presentation.
Oh, thank you, man.
Where are the config files? So, where are the data that is used to connect to the Amazon accounts?
The thing is, when you install the AWS CLI, it stores your credentials in some particular path. It picks these credentials, and if, for example, of course, you can have more than one Amazon account, and to make it work, you need to specify which one is used for this deployment. But if it's only one, you just pick this one and use it as a default.
Oh, cool. Okay. And the second question is, are there many, because it pretty much looks like a Rails app, as you said, Are there many differences between those two frameworks? Some tweaks like...
Actually a lot of similar stuff. Like you can use the active record as well, the views as well, but I think it's should be some differences with the Rails, but I cannot specify like in this Rails way. So, but in the different approach. So it can be treated as Rails as well, I think, more or less, of course.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I also want to say that it was a very good presentation, and I have a question because you said about preventing cold starts in Ruby, but doesn't it actually defeat the purpose of Lambda, since then you have to pay for the time that the machine is kind of on, the container is running? Wouldn't it be more beneficial to have like a dedicated container for your application then?
Yeah, that's a good question actually. You can turn off, for example, this warm-up, but it depends. I think that if you have a plain website with a lot of visitors, the Lambdas, it's not well fit for you. But if you, for example, using Lambdas for developing Slack bots, something with webhooks, it perfectly fit. In terms of it should save you money. But this warm-up job, I don't think that it's costly. Like what's under the hood, I cannot tell you. Like maybe because it's not involved the whole logic process that's used, for example, in your Lambdas, like for example, Nokogiri or something, which will be really memory consuming. And this is warm job should be pretty cheap in these terms. But the benefit of it, like you have no significant delay when some of your users hit your Lambdas. But if for your process it's not so important, like for example you develop the Slack bot and you don't mind if, for example, first call will be like a minute or 30 seconds, it's not that like online experience, I think it's okay.
Okay, so a follow-up question, because I don't know that actually. Does Lambda charge you per resource usage or per
resource usage? Yeah, it's on the free tier. It's gives you 400 gigabytes of RAM, of memory usage. How it counts? It's like, for example, your application, your Lambdas costs 100 megabytes, for example, but the lowest 128, and multiplied by time, how it executes, and this will be like some sort of cost. But the good question, how many CPUs gives you? I don't know. The price is about memory usage in this terms of calculus, but how many CPU units? I don't know actually. Need to check. Sorry.
Okay, any other questions? So, well, maybe this talk wasn't polished, but it was still great English.
Oh, thank you.